Well, hello everybody. It's almost a week ago since HR Tech stopped in Las Vegas. So, resume, had a lot of briefings, 29 in total. I thought I'd do a video presentation roundup of my high-level findings. There was much more depth in these 13, sometimes 16-minute meetings. But let's talk about my high-level takeaways and let me share my presentation. So here we go. Always looks great in Las Vegas and so peaceful, but anybody who was at HR Tech by now, he should have recovered. Some of us went on to next conferences. I had to deal with Dreamforce in San Francisco this week, but always stunning sunsets in Las Vegas. So if you fly in, especially from the East Coast, don't miss the sun rise in the morning, the sunset. That can be nice too, but the sunrise is spectacular, so don't miss it. Here, a little picture of that. And if you think glamorous at these conferences, yes, there's parties and dinners at night and good food, but during the day we have to work hard. Here's a shot of the briefing room, which is packed with lots of people speaking. Much better location than last year, where it was literally almost a mile away from the exhibition floor. This was a better location, still no windows, still we had no idea what the weather was outside, but that's how we spend most of our days, my colleagues and me. So let me quickly also, what I blogged last year in my takeaways of the HR Tech 2013 conference, which is how I see the market, right? I mean, ultimately, integration is always the big issue which HR professionals bring up when it comes to HR technology. And the best, highest level of integration is if you run a full HCM suite, right? That's like from the likes like Workday, Oracle, SAP, Info, and so on, having everything which is available. Others don't make it a complete list. Don't mention Ceridian, mention Ultimate, and so on. So the complete suite, which the four areas being core HR, payroll, talent management, and workforce management. Under that, there's a layer which has disrupted in the past these vendors as they acquired some. Take, for example, Oracle buying Taleo, SAP buying SuccessFactors. There's a talent management suite vendors, right, which bring together all the 5 major pillars of talent management, which are recruiting, performance management, onboarding, compensation, and learning. That's why I see the talent management suite. Anybody doing really well integrating this takes a lot of pain away for an HR professional and HR executive. And if they do this really well, talent management is more strategic than payroll as a moniker in the industry, which I don't personally fully subscribe. But that's probably another webcast, another discussion. We won't take into much detail here. But talent management suite innovation can disrupt HCM suites. Under talent management, the 5 areas, the area which right now gets the most attention for a number of reasons, the retirement scenario, the silver tsunami, and so on, all play a huge role, is recruiting. And recruiting is so important because companies can't fall behind in recruiting. It's the only hard discipline inside of HR. It's very, very difficult to lose your job in HR for bad performance very quickly. You lose your job in HR if your recruiter hasn't hired anybody decent in the last 2-3 months. So if recruiting innovation happens, it has all the chance to dislodge similar like the rail tracks in the background picture, all of the HR market, talent management suite vendors, the HCM suite vendors, and so on. So keep that in mind as I walk you through the vendors, which are alphabetically sorted, not in the sequence how I talk to them. Feel free if you're at the end, apologies in advance to Vizier, who's at the end, to the alphabet. Remind me next year if I do this again, I'll start in reverse alphabetical order. So here we go. First met with Achievers. Achievers is a brand new Hopper release out there. As you know, Achievers is a constant performance feedback company which works, vendor which works with virtual currency for vendors for employees to be motivated, align their behavior. Hopper has a number of good features. Customers are live from it already. What I tend to take away for this webcast is that the design principles, as I spoke to the head of development, is members first, not users, interestingly on that, but joy to use, obviously. Ubiquitous access, so we can access everywhere in the flow of work, right? We don't want to disrupt it with classic performance management. That's exactly what Achievers is not. And data informed. So definitely Achievers is one of the 2 vendors in the space. The other starts with a G, ends with an E, who have to be looked at if you talk about employee engagement, employee alignment, employee success management. Next up was ADP. They launched their new Workforce Vitality Index, spoke to the lady name doesn't come to my mind right now. My apologies to her about the launch of that index. Some interesting insights which were shared during the conference. ADP also launched a marketplace. 2014 is definitely the year of the marketplace. I'm sure we're going to get this wrong, but I remember launch of marketplace by Cornerstone. I remember launch of marketplace by SuccessFactors, and now it's ADP. Important because you have pre-configured pieces which match with the existing solution. The interesting thing is, and I have a shameless plug to my blog post here, out of the ADP analyst meeting back on September 19th, so not even a month ago, is that ADP has a new user interface which is going to be shown payroll and benefits enrollment. And these innovations are being rolled out to SMBs, so ADP is not idling right now to the SMB customers in the 6-digit numbers, very impressive numbers. So it's getting live for the new UI and new technology to be coming to ADP customers. The rest of customers will come the next months. And users are engaged. So for the first time, ADP had a feedback button. Don Weinstein said some funny things like, why don't I get more money, and so on, other feedback too. So there's some room for improvement, definitely. But it's good to see that thousands of users gave feedback on the new application. So it shows that with a new UI, you can reach totally different levels of engagement. My point of view is it's great innovation coming from ADP. Now it needs to roll out to their customers and move it across the suite of their products. Next, I spoke with CloudPay. I spoke to their CEO from the UK. They're growing very strongly in a high percentage number, a sign that they're doing something right. They keep investing in more payment functionality, or maybe quickly before, if you're not familiar with CloudPay. CloudPay is a central payment provider, strongly focusing, like all of these providers in the BPO space, around Workday. The main innovation they're showing at HR Tech is interesting. It's Collaborate, because CloudPay realized not only it has to connect between CloudPay employees and customer employees, but also to their various partners which help them fulfill global payroll systems. So the collaboration solution to see where things are when people are getting paid is definitely helping effectiveness and efficiency in this space. And the interesting is also that CloudPay keeps investing into product in-house capabilities to extend payroll capabilities natively for both Germany, Spain, Poland, and Brazil. So definitely my takeaway, CloudPay is a vendor to look at if you are using Workday and have a global population. Next up, Equifax. Probably Equifax and ADP are the two vendors stressing most compliance. Equifax has a number of assets there. If you're more interested, I also had a blog post in spring about that, didn't put the picture in there. Equifax is doing a lot of business around the ACA, no surprise about that. And more interesting to watch is as Equifax has around a population of 30 million or so data points of people being paid in North America, some data as a service offerings. So definitely look for that. And always talk to Equifax if you want to outsource some compliance work or not deal with it. Right? One of the visions there should be for both these vendors, ADP and other ones in the States, well, maybe the vendor's going to be the interface to the government, right? Take care of all my government relations for me. There's an idea. Next, I spoke to First Person. I always come to say first, which you can German, but it's Forst, like after the founder of the company, small Chicago-based specialist for talent selection. I was particularly impressed by using psychological elements in the selection process. We all know that 5 Shaquille O'Neals would not work well on a basketball team, not just because of player capabilities, but just personalities. So it's time for that to become part of HR processes in general to form teams or hire talent. And that's one was solved for 2014. So we're glad to see that somebody is working on that trend. They launched the analytics 4 months ago, and my point of view is if you want to improve your talent selection process, definitely a vendor to speak to. Next, I spoke to financialforce.com, which last year acquired Werner Workforce, got into the HR market with a focus of enabling a full employee lifecycle. They build on the Salesforce platform, so Chatter is a very powerful tool to get a new candidate on pre-onboarding, which is functionality they showed here at HR Tech. They partner on payroll with ADP Paycheck, so that's going to be their solution for that part. And next up on the roadmap is going to be social onboarding. So definitely a vendor to look at for social capabilities, but also especially if you're already a Salesforce customer for any of the products running on the Salesforce platform, because everything gets easier on the same platform. We talked about initially about the challenges that HR professionals see around the area of integration. And it's been taken care of, everything runs on the same platform. Next up was finally talked to CEO Peter Rosikoff, I believe is the name. They're planning to come down market. They have high-end market customers right now. They had some interesting gamification capabilities early in the year. And I saw probably one of the coolest demos I've ever seen before. Live, I saw how a Taleo website, URL, was dumped into a tool from Findly. And right away generated, and you see in the screenshot, a viable, usable, using the lookups, using all the information which was on the Taleo website client for mobile recruiting. So that should change the way and speed how quickly mobile processes will be made available. So an interesting showcase of technology, an interesting showcase also disrupt the mobilization of recruiting pages, because that's typically a 2-3 months project of constant handling, of things change and so on. Very interesting technology solution. Great showcase for great technology changing the game in recruiting. Halogen showed from Canada, one of the interesting full talent management vendors, showed me org chart-based navigation. Org chart-based navigation was a hot topic in the last 2-3 HR techs, but Halogen has really perfected this, as I can almost exclusively as a business user deal through the whole management of what I need to do as a business user. Very interesting is also the one-to-one meeting preparation capability, something which free vendors have as a functionality, but something that managers from a daily usage and utilization definitely need. They have an interesting try and buy offering, not forcing their vendors their customers to right away buy, and they're very strong in the healthcare vertical. So my point of view here is great progress in the last 12 months. They need to extend the base, something they've realized with more globalization happening towards Europe. Next, I talked to HireVue, talked to Scott Sessions. I'm a big fan of their True Analytics product. Check out my last blog post about what True Analytics really are. They take an action, or they at least recommend some actions to be taken in a force-ranked fashion. Their analytics product is really doing things as they should be taken. And sorry about that. And very impressive in the way of user feedback, going towards building the trust toward the analytics of the prediction of which candidates to talk to first. So that really helps recruiters to be more effective. And the company overall, the vendor overall, has some interesting diagonal opportunities. Can't give more away. Thought some things would be announced this week, but I couldn't find the press release to this on their website. So definitely, if you're using video interviews, and if you have to go through sea of recruits, even without video probably, talk to HireVue as an efficient solution to get there. Hirology was an interesting vendor. Spoke to the chief hirologist, which is the title of the CEO, specialized on a not so common area of HR, enabling franchisees and retail and automotive outlets, which are also part of franchises or larger brands, to run all their HR locally in their store, in their restaurant, and so on. And I like this particularly, I mean, there's good functionality around the hiring spec and enabling the whole store, the whole restaurant, but like particularly is their self-service capabilities, because a business user can set up their own system. And there's been always this discussion, if you can do this in enterprise software, here's a proof point that you can do it for, yes, some of the complex vendors will say a relatively limited set of functionality was compared to a full enterprise HR system, but it's a very encouraging step in my view. So they have great customer traction in the space, and the deployment, ease of deployment makes better software. So a business user has the ownership of that, is the owner of that franchise, sets himself up in HR. Quick oiling of my voice, and bear with me. And next it was IBM. IBM invited actually early in sequence to breakfast, showing their Connector talent suite, which I continue to build, but really the big news was Watson-powered analytics. So natural language can be used now to find answers to problems HR professionals have. I think the demo was very powerful, very interesting. The insights were limited to 20 plus something, I believe 28. Definitely more questions are going to be asked, so it's early phases for that. And we'll have to see how well Watson will help an HR professional beyond an early demo stage, but in day-to-day usage. So I can't wait to speak to a customer who's live on Watson-powered analytics for HR. Next up was Infor. Infor just announced a few weeks ago, again, my blog post from September 17th, their new HCM suite. At Infor in New Orleans, my blog post is a screenshot on the right side. It wasn't 100% clear because it happened on Wednesday when most of us were traveling and we weren't in New Orleans anymore, how much Infor will leverage existing assets. I spoke to Kegel, a gentleman named Kegel in charge of product development. Sorry for botching the name. It's very clear Infor will leverage existing acquired assets like Lawson, like WorkBrain, like Envison, like People Answers, and use Ion, the integration platform, to build the next generation applications. Interesting also that every cloud deployment is in AWS, covered that extensively. Smart move by Infor, putting the CapEx not in data centers, but into the product. So definitely, when that will all come along and run, look for a very complete HCM suite, especially interesting, giving payroll capabilities, which are a little challenge potentially, given the Lawson product being the background, but very interesting being the previous version of David Ossett product with WorkBrain. So very strong workforce capabilities and very strong work science capabilities out of people. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Intel will come up with. Next up was Jabra. What the heck is a HR headset vendor doing HR tech? But spoke to Holger Reisinger, if marketing. Another Holger, always happy to speak to other Holgers. No, just kidding, happy to speak to anybody. But headsets are part of employee productivity. HR should really care about employee productivity. Not many vendors realize that as a pitch for HR tech. We should see many other vendors helping employees to be more productive. Think of the furniture area, think about screens, think about telephones in general, not just headsets. These vendors are not at HR tech, but equally part of the productivity and overall future of work team. So they have an interesting new headset coming out. It works great in loud open floor plan, which is the new design environments, which are really nice for people working, collaborating together, but really bad for understanding the word. The best showcase here. My headset, an expensive competitive product, did fail to connect Bluetooth wise to Google Hangouts. So I hope the audio quality, which is always a challenge, some of my videos, and I apologize for that, should be better. So they have an innovative do not disturb feature. Everybody knows that too in open floor plan. You never know if somebody using headset is on the phone or not, maybe even a cell phone with little headbuds. They have a do not disturb feature, which is a right big round, like, what is it, like a $5 bill or like a 5 centimeter diameter piece, which you can look and turn on red. Very similar. Remind me almost like the Brazilian steakhouse experience of red or green. You can turn it red and people can see you obviously on the phone. Don't jump in, don't interrupt. So keep looking for headset innovations from Jabra. I think it's an interesting move for them to be at HR Techs. Next up was Dropbind. Spoke to Dan Finnegan. I always like, as a former CRM software executive or builder and practitioner also, CRM approach to recruiting. I think they're doing very well with that. Dropbind got their 4th round of funding, investing into product, always a big fan of that, and global expansion. And they created a Dropbind index, right? Everybody who has enough data wants to do something with data as a service. And it showed interesting insights that referrals, well, we actually not so pretty surprised, but it's good to have the data, that referrals beat career sites and job board in quality of hires. So definitely something which we always know referrals are great, but it's always good to have the data. So look at Dropbind as one of the best of breed specialists in the recruiting. Next up was Kronos, who actually met the first Tuesday evening already. A little hampered from a Kronos side because of Kronos Works coming up in a few weeks, again in Las Vegas. So Kronos held back some of the things they can talk about. What was ready for HR Tech was the new Workforce Ready product capabilities from the SMB side on multilingual support and biometric ID. Biometric ID is really interesting because it makes it easier if people forget their cards and so on to tap in, tap out time-wise. Some global labor management features, interesting vertical functionality of grants in the public sector, and project tracking for Workforce Central. Generally, I think Kronos has a huge potential in the project management area, tracking project kind, not only of blue-collar people, like what they do traditionally, but of white-collar people, which will expand the overall market, addressable market. So good progress. We'll see much more as Kronos world looms. Next up, talking to Lomes, met CEO Thomas Volk, who had Ron Huddleston from Salesforce until Surprising combination at first, but the big news was that Lumess will build their next generation product on the Salesforce One platform. Definitely a good choice, as Salesforce One has matured a lot in the last 12 months, especially like with this week seeing the additions Salesforce has done with the Lightning framework and with the new Wave-powered analytics cloud. So definitely an interesting platform. I expect more vendors to choose Salesforce, not only in the HR in general, but in general. I love in my research areas around future of work and next generation applications collide, which happens here. It does not mean at all that Lumess will stop their existing products, so customers should not be worried. They keep being extended, will have a roadmap, and they will be maintained. Overall roadmaps for when Lumess will have new functionality on the Salesforce platform, Thomas Tummel will be coming around 2015. So look forward to see these, and I think it's great for a vendor like Lumess and others who have different acquired assets to determine what their go-forward strategy in terms of platform is, and definitely Salesforce is not a bad partner for that. So look forward to hear more from Lumess. Mercer, similar, not related to Salesforce at all, but typically in the data business of helping you with compensation information since quite a while, trying to get out of this edge, becoming a software vendor, building a talent suite around this, was able to forecast, engage, mobilize, reward, assess, and develop employees. So definitely if you're a Mercer customer already or some of their competitors, definitely something to look at as they are ahead in terms of modernization, the availability of this functionality of IP coming from what is traditionally a data provider. So have a look at that. Next up was NGA Human Resources, also their analyst meeting plugged back in June. Movegate announced, NGA HR as they call it, sorry, announced the payroll exchange product to help them internally and help customers to be more effective from a global payroll perspective. They're seeing the first go lives, which is good progress. Overall, Movegate has a very ambitious product innovation agenda. I look forward to getting an update on that potentially at HR Tech next week in Europe. If they're on track and deliver that, I think they will be an even more interesting, attractive vendor for anybody looking for global payroll / BPO. Next up was OneStar. The alphabetical sequence here favors the BPO vendors here. Equally like Movegate or Windsor, OneStar which has a very strong BPO focus. But for SMBs right now with a large presence, strong presence in North America, and starting in the UK, basically following Workday as they make their payroll available in other countries. Interesting also that OneSource not only stops at the BPO side, but is one of the larger SIs implementing Workday, and also goes beyond the implementation service. One second. With helping customers with post-application services, because updates are coming, change management, testing service, and so on. This should be a general boon for all kind of service company, but it's good to see somebody like OneSource taking early advantage of that. So definitely look at OneSource when you're evaluating Workday and are not like in the higher end, large end space. We deal with other implementers and other people. Paycheck is always interesting, even more at the lower end in the SMB space. Paycheck has done a number of acquisitions, excuse me, in the last 12 months. Now is doing the good housekeeping, reducing technical debt and putting them on one backbone. I always like to see this when vendors do this, so kudos to Paychecks for that, which by the way is one of the, with Mike Joyer, one of the grandfathers of the HR industry, the father, well, maybe the junior son of the father, which is Klaus Tschira of the SAP HCM system. So definitely somebody who knows what he's doing. And later PeopleSoft and so on. So definitely someone who knows how to build a great HR software product. So keep a look at that. I can't wait. Mike always says we stick to SMB. That's what we do, but never say never. So when you build this product right, which I know Mike and the team do, there might be a product beyond the SMB to range. So, but always to consider in the SMB market. Tricks, interesting company with academic roots in the survey business, does employees for customers, service for customers, employees, and market. Obviously, HR Tech for the employee perspective. Dramatic funding, congratulations to them, 150 million in September of this year. Definitely a company which has muscle behind it, with a very strong self-service philosophy from the service side, not a traditional do a half-year engagement with a consulting company to get a service going. So definitely a company to look at when you look for some other vendors in the employee survey space. Subcentric, interesting, very small payroll vendor. I remember I spoke to 3 Mikes and a Tracy there, so we have both self-server names right, out of Pennsylvania. Interesting, showing how the markets move together. Very strong payroll BPO. Realized they need a full HCM suite, acquired some source code, and built with very few people. I believe it's only 3. A very attractive, good-looking HCM suite with full talent management on top of that. A very compelling UI. Interesting enough, also making it complementary for the customers. So a good strategy to keep the pattern up. A lot can be done, obviously, with 3 smart people. So a good showcase for that. But innovation and disruption HR can come from left field, right field, and so on. Next up was Smashfly, who gets a silver medal for the most creative business card. I'll hopefully don't forget the gold medal later. But realizing that recruiting can be a platform business, should be a platform business, again, addressing the integration concern of the HR professional. Has a complete set of recruiting functionality on a total platform, and total recruitment marketing is one of their main buzzwords to do that, right? So it's a different approach, not having best of breed pieces, but one single platform. Will the platform approach be working? Will be interesting to see in a few months from now how well customers will adopt it. But in general, platforms work. I'm a big fan of platforms, so I wish them well, and it should be interesting to see what traction they get. Next up was Skillsoft. Skillsoft CEO was available for a briefing. They acquired SubTotal. I blogged about this also, forgot the screenshot. So interesting what they will be doing. It looks like not much progress from that perspective. The gentleman CEO was also referring to learning and HR. Right now, learning is part of HR. I'm sure Skillsoft will get that understanding and will not want the separation anymore when we're at HR Tech 2015. The roadmap for that integration is highly in demand and should be coming early 2015. So can't wait to see how Skillsoft leverages some total assets and talent in a future product. So can't wait for 2015 to start. Next, I talked to Randstad Sourcewide, always someone to talk to both in the RPO space and the contingent workforce space. Probably the best conversation around the future of work, my research area about how that's changing towards more project-based business and some from all vendors. I mean, it wasn't the purpose briefing in that, but 2 gentlemen and lady from Randstad Sourcewide definitely were up for that. So. And the employee landscape is shifting in Randstad's favor. We have more contingent workforce, more contractors, more temporary employment. So it's going to be interesting how that will affect the existing vendors. We saw SAP, for instance, acquire Fieldglass earlier this year as a reaction to that. And Randstad has some interesting product offerings for that. So it will be interesting. If you have a contingent workforce, definitely Randstad Sourcewide is a key vendor for you to talk to. And that's interesting. I must have an error here. Yeah, I saw it wrongly. Apologies. We have to speak to Smashfly again. Technomedia, Canadian, also another Canadian vendor like Halogen, full talent management suite. Interesting enough, history tidbit was founded originally by Bell because people thought at the time that in the 90s that creating online learning content will create more network traffic. Interesting perspective. Company has grown originally from the learning space to full talent management vendor, focused on large enterprises, had a massive release with all 3 features earlier this year, and now is focusing on making implementations easier and configuration easier for the customers. So definitely, if you look for a global talent management system, a vendor to look at. On Friday, then I met with Towers Watson, help enterprise to get more out of their benefits, analyze what benefits are available for employees, how they can best use them. Actually didn't know they were the first Workday implementation partner, at least they claimed that, so no need to try to mistrust that. And they're going to build more IP in the future. So if you're looking for some effectiveness, return of investment on your benefits, Towers Watson will be happy to speak to you and we should talk about. And last but not least, we're almost done. European vendor, Swiss perspective on talent management with Romantis, which is internationally expanding in Atlanta and San Francisco and also in Beijing, and has some interesting brain research ingredients. For instance, one of the things the CEO shared with me is like, if you write down 3 positive things for, I believe it was 10 days every day, quite a lot of things, Americans will think 30 positive things over the run of 10 days. It really changes your, according to the research, your approach to things, and you'll have a much more positive outlook on life. So maybe if you find the time in the busy conference reason, I should try that on paper. Well, how Romantis has a software for that. So definitely an alternate, a different perspective on the typical talent management, which I think will be enriching for people to consider and talk to. Last but not least, and I will not forget, I have a picture here, gold for the most creative not credit card, but business card. It's foldable, and it represents a cube because Visio runs on cubes, not surprising for a number of former business objects veterans. Really looking for the data-driven chief HR officer, trying to bring workforce intelligence to HR process, which Visio combines also in combination of analytics and planning. I'm always impressed by vendors doing the hard stuff, might it be a compliance side, might be on the payroll side, on the workforce management side, or on the analytics and planning side. So definitely if you're ready, and not many HR organizations, unfortunately for my view, are ready for more data-driven hard decision making, or at least considering that. They always say about it, but then often they shrink back. Okay, enough criticizing HR departments. That's not the purpose of this webcast. If you're ready for data-driven HCM, then definitely this is a vendor for you to talk to. Earlier, and not HR Tech, of course, I spoke to the three 800-pound gorillas. They might forgive that to me. Oracle at Open World, they had an HCM Analyst Summit. My takeaways are on the webcast. Overall, great progress, but now it needs to get more customers around that. Some innovations on UI, some unification finally happening of different technologies that Oracle acquired, mainly Taleo. So it's all good housekeeping, but more customers is what we need to see. Same for SAP at the Success Conference, also in Las Vegas earlier, doing some interesting things around learning, obviously realizing that that's an advantage they have in their suite over what's missing on the Workday side right now, still as being a partner product for them. Definitely some interesting pieces there. New UI coming next year. So lots of things happening there too, but equally work to get everything on the new framework, not just Employee Central, but all the other SuccessFactors products. And last but not least, this is alphabetical again before questions come up. Workday had their tech summit. Very good progress in my view that Workday is moving towards more standard items for the technical side of an evaluation. Technologies the CR was comfortable with, like OpenStack and Amazon AWS as an example. So kudos to Workday for that. Lots of work to bring over all the stack to that and really jump into that remains. But we all know Workday is definitely one of the top 3 800-pound gorillas to consider. And that sounds charming. If you know a better way of saying it, let me know. Good, that rounds it up. This was 29 briefings at HR Tech. Thanks for bearing with me. I cannot see how long this took. Probably took much longer I might have wanted to, so thanks for bearing with me. Hope this was helpful and useful. Comment on your blog post on the vendor side what I forgot. I tried my very best in this probably half an hour by now. But, if you're ready, reach out to me also on the question and answers. So thanks for your attention and keep changing people, process, and HR software. Thanks.